is at hand. Ghostly haunting since time began. Raw side paranormal seeks the truth, looking for some kind of real proof. Creepy floorboards and eerie dark mist. Grab your camera and document this. No time to run, no time to hide. We are catching all of this on the raw side. A slamming door causes a fright. A shadowed hand appears in sight. Grab your REM pods and your K2s, or anything else you can use. No time to run, no time to hide. We are catching all of this on the wrong side. A slamming door causes a fright. A shadowed hand appears in sight. Grab your REM pods and your K2s, or anything else you can use. No time to run, no time to hide. We are catching all of this on the raw side. The icy air touches your neck. You feel like screaming, but you stay in check. Orbs rising up to take the magical flight. You can't believe what's happening tonight. Don't run, don't try to hide. We are catching this on the raw side. Don't run, don't try to hide. We are catching this on the raw side.
Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Raw Side. I'm glad everybody can join us. Tonight's going to be fun. It is something new that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So it took me a while to find the right person to do this program with, and I am so happy that she agreed to and is here now with us. So remember, guys, keep your comments and your opinions kind, and please welcome Miss Nikki from Sasquatch Secrets. Hi, Nikki. How are you?
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for joining us. There's so many questions about this topic, and I thought the best way to get some answers was to have an actual professional come on. I've approached other people and I'm like, yeah, they're not the real deal. So it was great because Enzo hooked me up with you. So you were the lucky winner to join us and to fill us in on this topic. Hi, Michael. Welcome. And Enzo should be here soon. I hope he's supposed to join us and he can join in on the conversation. I ask everybody first off, most generally the people that know you, know what you do, know about the process and all of that. But I want all of my people and community to know who you are. Who is Nikki, the woman behind Sasquatch Secrets?
Well, like you said, my name's Nikki Cologne, and I've been in the Bigfoot community and since about 10 years or so, and I've always been interested in the cryptids, ever since I was small, and I was a big reader when I was a kid. So the one thing I did as soon as my mom took me to the library was that I loaded up on all those cryptid books, the Bigfoot, the Mothman, the Loch Ness Monster, anything I could get a hold of is what came home with me. And that kind of stuck with me for a while. It wasn't really until 2013, 2014 that I really got deep into it with the forums, the Bigfoot forums, and then groups started happening with Facebook, and it just grew. It grew and grew, my love for the subject. And of course, you go through a journey. It's kind of a journey. What do you want out of this? Is it just for fun? Is it you're trying to prove something? Or are you trying to prove it to yourself? Which is what I'm kind of want to do is see one for myself. But of course, when you're raising your family, and then we were military, so we were moving around a lot, makes it kind of hard to do all that boots on the ground stuff. But now it's getting a little bit easier for me to go out there, and I've done a couple of expeditions and made a whole lot of friends. But my channel came about a couple years ago, and it started out being called Hairy Man Hoaxes and Hoodwinks, because I liked to talk about the hoaxes, because in this field, that's one thing that is very prevalent, is the amount of people who hoax videos, pictures. And I hated that. The more that happened, the more I wanted to tell people, no, that's not real. This is what it really is. So that's where the channel started. And then I ended up changing the name to Sasquatch Secrets, mostly because I don't think people were looking up Hairy Man very much. So,
Right.
they were looking it up for some other reason, I think. But
I think so.
yeah,
It opened a whole different door.
yeah. And that opened a door. And that's what we do. I like to bring on a panel of guests. We like to talk about the more nefarious things that are happening in the community. And also, I like to do deep dives into research and into more historical things that have happened in the community, because that's what kind of binds us all, the things that have happened. And that's where I kind of go. It's that this is a big community, it's ever growing. And I think it's important that the new people who are coming into the topic know about some of these bad apples, before they go on and believe without a doubt, oh, that's a Bigfoot. No, actually, that's not a Bigfoot. That suit was made by this guy at this time and for this reason. And that's what I like to do. So that's what I do. That's what my channel's all about.
So fantastic. So you've never had actually your own experience or sighting of a Bigfoot?
Not a sighting. I did have an experience. I can't contribute it to Bigfoot, but it was really weird. And that was there's Jen. Jen was with me when this happened, so she's one of my
Jen.
one of the kind of witnesses to this happening.
So you can make sure she's telling the story right.
Yeah. It was we were on Mount St. Helens doing a 5-day Sasquatch shindig, is what I call it, and we've been trying to have one every year. But we were there on the final night after all the trail cameras were gone, all the cameras were full and put away, and everything was dead. That last night, something came up to the back of my tent. And I clearly heard, we had been hearing stuff going to the garbage because we had inadvertently we left the garbage out. So
Right.
It's a bear. It's a skunk. It's something, it was over there rattling in that garbage, and been hearing it. And then it was walking through the camp and going through the chairs. And finally it came up to the corner of my tent, which really wasn't a tent. It was like an ice hutch thing. The bottom is open. So it's just the top because it's meant for ice fishing. And I kept thinking, oh my God, this thing's going to reach out underneath the tent, whatever it is.
Right.
But it walked 1, 2, 3, right to the corner, and it stopped. And right at where my head was, and it leaned down and it went cha,
Oh,
and it immediately froze me. It stood up and then it walked back to the trash. At this time, I didn't have bear spray because the guys who owned that, they took it. I didn't have any,
right.
and all the walkies were gone. There was no way of communicating. And I'm gonna have to take that off because everybody's messaging.
Hi, Spookfest.
So, and it turns out that Jen, had heard some things going on. And then one of the guys that was further down in his tent had actually had his tent even shook that night. And he had heard murmuring going on. So I don't know. I don't know what it was. It froze me. I did not step 1 foot off my cot that night. And, you never know what you're going to do when something like that happens. But I was out of my phone, barely had like 5 minutes left of, left over videos because I had used it for 5 days. And it was just that circumstance that I don't think I could have even really caught anything. But the next morning, we all got up thinking we were going to see the garbage just strewn all over. And you know what? It was not. It was not. It was just all in the garbage, just a couple of pieces out and out. But for the most part, was still in the bag. And what would happen is the big foil packs, when you cook meat, the meat juices in the foil and you just roll it in a ball. Those had been opened up and had been licked clean. And were back just sitting there. There was cookies and sugar cubes on the table sitting right next to it. They were not touched.
Really?
If it had been a bear, I think he would have just decimated that whole table full of food, snacks that were left that night.
Oh, yeah, which cleaned it right out.
Yeah. So it's very confusing. We were like, what? And then Jen got up and she started walking around and she started finding footprints. She found some right at the corner of my tent. She found some down by the little creek that was running. And that creek kind of was down at a little culvert. So you had to come up from the creek. It was wet. That whole ground going up was just damp from something coming in and out of that water.
Right.
So it there was a lot of things to point to something walking in and out of there, and footprints, a couple of and they weren't large footprints. They were like maybe my size footprints and barefoot. But I wasn't walking around barefoot out there, and nobody else was, other than these little kids who were there earlier in the week, but they were way smaller. So
you're thinking it would have a young one.
Yeah, I'm thinking it could have been a juvenile, because it didn't seem like a huge presence outside. When you're in a tent, you can feel when somebody's outside your tent. You just have a small canvas in between you and the outside. So I felt a presence there, and it leaned. I could tell it leaned closer into the tent. And when that happened, I was waiting to hear the sniffs, like from a bear or a deer.
Right.
A scratching, a sniffing, a grunt, a growl. None of that. No sniffing whatsoever, which is weird for an animal. Okay. Almost all bears and animals use their nose to identify things. So,
right.
Just a huge, loud chaw right at my head. And then
that's interesting.
Moved off. And
like you're saying, you could feel it. Could you feel it was like any kind of like impact tremor, like from the ground as it walked? Did you feel that?
I did feel 3 coming up the side because there was a little dip on the backside of where my tent was. And I could definitely feel the boom, boom, boom coming
Right.
right to the corner. But it wasn't like huge, enormous, you know.
Right.
I always expected to really feel that. And it wasn't like that. It was just like maybe something 6 feet tall, maybe. If
Okay.
that, 6 feet tall, not very big. But I knew exactly where everybody was. That was another
Right.
thing, is that Jen and I both knew exactly where everybody was. And
It amazes me though, because even if you think it was a juvenile, it still had enough weight to it to cause, impact tremors while walking.
right,
Um,
we couldn't
so
put,
that's
that big of tracks anywhere because it's a right there at Mount St. Helens. The ground is covered with ash. So everything is got a little bit of softness to it, but
right.
still, we don't know. I mean,
So yeah, Michael has a question. He goes, I found tree structures today that looked like they were placed there by something, not by the storm, because the we in the shape of an axe and woven together as if it was a sign of Bigfoot. Of course, Michael, I don't know exactly what area you're from, so
um, when it comes to tree structures, you're going to have two sides: people who don't believe in it at all, and some who are very adamant that trees, structures they find that have to be the work of Bigfoot. I kind of fall on, if it's not over 7 feet tall, then I discount it because then a human can do it.
mhm.
And you run into that, and people always say, well, there's nobody out there. I go, well, you're out there. If you're out there, somebody else could be out there and you don't know
Yeah,
about
yeah, right.
it. Always
He's from
that.
West Tennessee.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There are
Is there
some
Is there a
sightings.
big population in West Tennessee, or many
Oh yeah.
claims in West Tennessee?
Oh,
Okay.
tons. Yeah. Tons. There's a lot of investigators out of Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, that whole line there, all the way up into Ohio is huge for sightings. And then up into New York and the Adirondacks.
Yeah,
There's a
that's my next question because I'm next to the Adirondacks, and
oh
I have a story to tell you about that. So okay, I wasn't too sure if they were up in our area. I mean, we have a lot of woods here, just like in Pennsylvania and all of that. So I
many,
figured
many sightings. A lot of great investigators in that area too.
because I tried to ask the question last night on your program, but the guys were too into their debate
They
that
were
nobody
I
wanted
did see your question.
to answer.
I can't get them to stop talking.
Oh, geez. What happened was friends of mine came back here to New York to visit for a wedding, and him and his daughter, they were on Fourth Lake up in the Adirondacks, and they were taking a trail, just going for a nature walk, and it was kind of muddy. And my friend noticed that there was a birch tree branch that was stuck into the ground, sticking up. And he tried to take it out, but he couldn't take it out. So it was like somebody had hammered it like right into the ground. So he thought it was kind of odd. And his daughter was way up ahead of him. And this is a grown woman, his daughter. Next thing you know, she comes running back towards him, white as a ghost. And she never swears. And she told him, we need to get the F out of here. And he's like, what's the matter? What's the matter? And she says, I'm not kidding. We need to get out of here. And she goes, I saw something. So you figured, okay, what is it? What a bear? She goes, no, I know what a bear looks like. This was not a bear. She was pretty much face to face with this thing. She told him it had to have been about 10, 11 feet tall. And it was covered in hair, brown hair, but it also had some white on it. And it was just staring dead at her. And she shit herself, turned around and ran. Well, they didn't have time to investigate because they had to hurry up and get back to go for the wedding. So as they were coming back down the trail, on the opposite side of where he saw that first birch tree branch in the ground, there was another one. And he says, and they couldn't pull it out. And for one thing, there was no birch trees in that area. It was all pine.
Uh-huh.
So whatever it was, it either took it and slammed it into the ground by just sheer force, because if somebody hammered it in with a rock, you would have heard it. And as they were making their way back towards the cabin, they heard this horrible screeching sound. And it wasn't like bobcat or anything like that. It was just an odd screeching. And so that's what I was wondering, if anybody else had that similar experience in the Adirondack Mountains.
Yep, they have. You've got investigators out there who have had the whoops, the whoop, whoop, or you've had all kinds of, I can't even tell you, all kinds of different sounds. Now, of course, we can say it's something we don't know. It's a sound. You always have to look at the known animals in the area. The owls are the biggest culprits when it comes to sounds at night. And,
Right.
So you really need to know the known animals in your area, especially all those owls, because the screech owl, the barred owl, the barn owl, they are like scary at night because they let out this, especially the juveniles that are like, oh my gosh, is that thing going to be screeching at us the whole time we're out here? It can get kind of intimidating in the dark when you hear these things. So that's, you got to know your area. It's really important.
Right. Yeah, Michael said, I've heard those. He says it doesn't sound anything like an owl. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. Well, and they know somebody else that had a similar experience further up and actually had it on video. He was with his dog, and the dog wouldn't leave his side, but it kept staring off into the woods. And the guy, had the recording going, and the sound of whatever it was on the recording. And apparently he submitted it to an animal expert, and the animal expert goes, I don't know what that is. He goes, it doesn't identify with anything that he knew.
Yeah.
So they're assuming that it was a Bigfoot. But like I said, she was pretty much face to face. And I mean, he says, he never seen her that way. And whatever she ran into, it was big, and it scared the hell out of her. And they looked on their way back. They did try to see if they could find tracks, but for something that would be that big, I think the foot span would be huge, because whatever, 4 or 5 steps that we would take would be probably one step for that thing. It's because he couldn't find anything that would actually show that something had walked through. So, and that's, like I said, when they found that second birch branch in the ground, he's thinking, oh yeah, we probably should get out of here, because they don't know what it was. And he didn't want to run into it and have nothing with him as far as, to scare it off. Hi, Tanya, welcome. Now, my question is, I think most of us don't know, because this is, like I said, a subject that we don't really touch base on, is everybody asks, what is involved in doing an investigation for Sasquatch?
There's a lot of prep work when it comes to getting ready to do serious investigations. I mean, a lot of the people who have seen Bigfoot weren't even out there before them. They were camping or having a picnic or just out taking a stroll on fire roads and, happened to see one cross the road or run into one that was not expecting it. But for the investigators, the serious ones, they invest a lot of money into cameras, FLIRs, infrared cameras, everything. You just need to be prepared when you're out there. I mean, GoPros and all this. I have a whole getup, that I'll put on for the nights, and it takes a lot of patience. I think you need a lot of patience, but try to have fun. I mean, the one thing that we all, try to focus on is to still have fun while we're out there in the dark. And
right.
Safety. The other big key is safety. You know, one of us always has a GPS radio or beacon, and you have to take care of yourselves because some of the areas are really deep out there, and you never know. It doesn't take much to snap an ankle out there, and you just have
Right.
to be cautious about that stuff. But it's endless.
Excuse
The
me.
stuff you could get in use. Sometimes it's too much. For me, it's a lot to carry and to film and to try to document, you know, because you can say you're going out, but people are saying, prove it. Prove it you're out there, boots on the ground, trying to, you know, find Bigfoot. And I'm like, I've got it. I've got the proof, but I'm a horrible videographer, especially in the dark when I'm trying not to fall. And
Right.
so put out what I can put out. And
There
there,
he is. They turned your power back on.
I guess you need to pay all the bills.
And so I know.
Half of my stuff isn't working. My OBS has crashed. I don't know if you can even hear me. So
yes, we can hear and see you. Wonderful. I'm glad you could join us. We were just picking Nikki's brain about what is the process of doing an investigation for Bigfoot. My other question is, all right, like with deer hunting, because I used to be a deer hunter, but you dress in the camouflage, the appropriate clothing, and do you also use a scent so that you can, disguise your human scent?
I don't do any of that stuff. As a matter of fact, I think the guys probably don't appreciate it when I have perfume on because they can, smell that. But
hi, Carla.
I'm not, that's a stickler for it. But I do know some of the guys, will do that. They want to be stealthy. In my world, I'm not stealthy because I don't want to run into a bear. My world is I want to make noise. I want the things to know I'm down the road, So it's a little, everybody's got their own way of investigating. I can only go in an hour and out an hour. I can't stay out there hiking those trails for all day long. I can't do it anymore. So and everybody's got their own thing. You need to know where you're going. You need to have good maps. You need to have an idea of a safety plan. Those are the important things. And be wary of the animals. Have your head on a swivel and know that there's bears and mountain lions and rattlesnakes in my area anyway. You need to be wary of those. And that's what but it just depends on the person and how deep you want to get into it. There's all kinds of equipment out there that, the guys have. And
so, well, actually, what do they pretty much just walk around with the equipment, or do they do calls or?
Some do calls, some knock on the trees. I'm not a real big proponent on knocking on trees and stuff. We don't know what we're saying or doing. I don't want to call them in for lunch. For dinner or whatever.
Pretty wise. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just depends on your style. Everybody has their own style. I know some guys who are completely against all of that. Some guys think it's harassing them, so they won't go that route. And then I know some that's their call blasting is one of their number one things, to try to bring the Bigfoot into them, because a lot of new researchers believe we'll never go to them. They've got to come to us. So, hi, I'm out of El Paso, Texas, but I research in New Mexico and Arizona. And I have
a lot of sightings in those areas in Arizona and New Mexico. Really?
There's quite a few in the mountains, especially, where I go. There's a lot in the Mescaleto Indian Reservation. There's a lot there, but they're kind of protected. They don't want you to go into their areas, so you have to get permission. You have to know somebody to go into some of these areas.
Okay.
But there's a good amount of sightings and audio that come out of these areas. And but all over. I think you have a little bit all over. Even though the Southwest has a lot of desert, a lot of people don't know that New Mexico and Arizona have some of the biggest mountain ranges anywhere.
Yes.
So where I hike up it's 8,600 elevation where I go. My first day up there, I can't breathe. I have to
Yeah, it's hard to breathe.
at least 24 hours, and then I can do
Wow.
a hike. If I'm up there just for the day, I do light hikes. It's real easy days where I'm just exploring and driving the back roads. But because it's drastic, it's different than hiking. When I hiked at Mount St. Helens, that was 500 elevation, and BC, when I was up in Canada and I was up at Sasquatch Provincial Park, that was even easier there. Hotter than heck, but it was easier.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Going into the area I go into, but yeah, a lot of sightings.
So what is the specific? I know you did a list of equipment, but what is the specific equipment that you use personally?
Personally,
and what do you think the equipment is picking up, or what are you looking for with that equipment?
I have with me on the day hikes, I have certain things, and night hikes, I have other things, right? So I have a Nikon DSLR, a good camera. I have my GoPro. I have my phone, because my phone's a really good one and it takes the best video. So I use that a lot. So I go back and forth between those elements whenever I'm out during the day. And so you're strapped up. I've got the GoPro. Sometimes I'll have it on my head. Sometimes I haven't put it, on my chest yet because I'm looking into some other things. But at night, I will just use my phone and the GoPro on my head. But you're always dealing with the light. What good is videotaping if you just have black,
Right.
I'm looking into some other Phasm cameras and using more infrared type system, and because it's costly, but
Oh,
man,
yeah.
one of my friends, Bill, Finding the Trackway, he goes by Finding the Trackway, he's like he's going into battle when he goes out at night. He's got a
Right.
big military hat on, and it's got his cameras and battery packs and audio system and all strapped to his head. And then he's carrying his infrared, and he's carrying another camera on this side. The guy's loaded down, with
Sounds
a
like
big
he's getting ready to pick up satellite frequency.
Yeah, it's
a rear facing camera, and it gets
Wow.
the more
it
things you
is
have, the more you have to look at that when you get back.
right.
Okay.
That's ours. But
It's
wearing a lot of like military design tactical gear, it's designed with a purpose. It carries all of these little things you need, which, as it turns out, when you go out and do any kind of investigation like that, no matter what it is, because you can do that for ghosts, you can do that for UFOs, you can do that for cryptids. You're going to have a lot. We all have our gadgets. We all have our little devices. We all have different phones and cameras and stuff like that. And you can't just go walking around the woods carrying it all in your hand. So you end up getting like these tactical I usually wear it's a photographer's vest, which just has a bunch of open pockets in it. So I don't look like I'm Bob on the fob getting ready to go out and do an assault run or something. But I do know people that do have those things because it does have specific, you can get all kinds of different size pockets for different vests and customized to the stuff that you carry. It looks ridiculous, but hopefully that'll force them to come out to at least point and laugh at you, maybe. But
because you want to get to the point where your hands free. You don't
Right.
want your hands used because you need them to do things. And when you're juggling stuff in the middle of the night, it gets hard. It gets hard to do all that. One of my friend Brent, he puts his camera right on his shoulder, and then he has this big camera on in his hand. And I'm not a steady on my feet. I have super bad knees, so I have to have a walking stick. And so that's always in my hand. And so now I'm going to be upgrading to a monopod that is kind of works as two, a stick, and I'll be able to put my infrared binoculars on the top of that. So that'll help from one thing that I strap on. So it's a lot of gear. But when you're out there an hour out into the forest, it's not like you can just, let me run back to my truck or whatever.
Right.
You have to have it on.
Right. Yeah.
So then you have
They
to
would really
carry all the
stink.
batteries. You got to
Oh,
carry
my.
all your SD cards, all that stuff. Carry it all with you. So you end up with this giant pack full of stuff and
Right.
kind of wobbling around out in the woods and stuff. It's a
Now
pain.
I'm
But
wearing a little chair. It kind of folds up into a nice little stick kind of to
I've seen
carry
those.
with. Because the last trip we took, there was nowhere to sit. It was weird that there was usually you find a log or something you can just take a break
Right.
on. But some of these logs were so what do you call it when they decompose? They look like they're solid, and then you sit and they just
Just
crumble.
mushes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, heck no, I'm not going to do that. You guys will never get me back up.
You're not with all that gear on.
Super hard, on this one particular trail. I don't want that to happen again. I need to have a little chair with me, and I've got something now that I'll be able to strap around. But that means like you said, you're always
One more
involved.
thing to carry. Yeah.
One more thing to carry.
It usually ends up being you've got to make a sacrifice. It's like, okay, tonight I'm going to go out with the night vision stuff and my regular camera and just a really big light or whatever it is. Or maybe the next night you're going to, okay, this will be all the thermal stuff, all that, because you can't carry it all. There's just too much.
Yeah, for me especially, when I'm with the guys, I'm not worried, right? Because they have everything. So I try.
And that's the best way to do it.
I know if I have an emergency, they've got the first aid kit. They got this and that. The one thing I will always try to have is the bear spray on me, but everything else, is like, I'll just take my camera, make sure it's fully charged, have an extra battery, stuff like that. But you just never know. Every situation.
Your bare essentials. Michael wants to know, would a laser grid be a good gadget to purchase for a nighttime forest exploration?
A laser grid to
I assume that's the one that puts the little dots on everything. Is that what we're talking about?
I believe that's what he's talking about.
I've seen people do that because it helps with seeing movement in the dark.
Yeah, if you're going to be stationary, you're going to look in a certain area, I think that would help.
With that, then yeah, again, it's one more thing that you have to worry about. So it's everybody's their own thing. I wouldn't use one because it's very distracting seeing all those points. It takes away from what I see. I just want to see.
Right.
I want my eyes. Because one thing you run into is that when you put your face into an infrared binoculars, you lose your night vision. And a lot go to just the monocular, the one, so that they can keep one eye, to the darkness and one eye to the light. So you're not losing your perception, your night vision, because you're keeping your night vision so important.
Yes.
But there's other things to think about when you're doing that stuff, what you're going to get out of it. And a good clear and thermal imager is on my bucket list right now to get a good imager, to find that.
They're expensive. They're even the low end cheap ones are still pretty pricey. You're still in the 500 and up, and the resolution is awful. You're even if you pay like $1,000 one, it's not very good. It doesn't, when you play it back, especially blown up on a big screen, it's like Minecraft. It doesn't look good at all.
Wow.
way down. But the thermals, they're still extremely expensive. And
Okay.
so, one thing at a time, you just get what you think you
Yeah, that's the
need.
best you can do. Actually, I agree with Enzo because I was just thinking. Oh, you're talking about Michael's suggestion about using the grid. If somebody actually like was in a deer stand you're sitting there for hours and you've got that grid going on the ground. I think that would be actually an awesome way to use that. That would, like if you're sitting stationary for so long.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the best case for an outdoor type environment for something like that. Cause like that works pretty well, like in a house. If you're doing a ghost investigation or something like that, that works out pretty good.
Right.
Outside,
Yeah.
if you're looking for Bigfoot or you're looking for UFOs or something like that, your head's kind of on a swivel the entire time. You're always listening for that twig snap somewhere in the distance or that flash of light in the sky or something like that. So uh, I don't think it would be that useful unless, like you say, you're going to camp out in the deer stand and looking at one very specific thing with the tree at your back, and that it might be okay, but I don't know
Right.
about the rest of it.
Another thing you have to consider is that some of these forests are very dense, and thermals don't see through all that.
Oh no.
So they're not any good. They work really well in corridor type situations, and open prairie or meadows, they work really well. But because we've tried to drive while using these thermals, and the trees all look like Bigfoot. They all light up at night, so it's really hard to figure out the right equipment. But each person will figure that out on their own, what they think is more important and what makes them feel safe.
Right.
Because I know there's a lot of macho guys out there that,
Yeah.
fine or whatever, but I've seen some of these guys stop dead in their tracks going, what was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's usually what it is.
Now. Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
those movie muscles like, I'm ready for it. Oh my God. What was
Right. He's the first one that's got to go change his shorts.
well, where's Trackway? He's got the thermal. Come up here.
Jen says that she uses dowsing rods as well. Now that's interesting. How would that work for a Bigfoot investigation?
Well, many say that Bigfoot has a more spiritual or paranormal type. It's a type of entity that can communicate through mind speak. So that energy, or actually a lot of animals put off energy, and that's what Jen tries to hook into, is that empathic energy that's released. And she asks her dowsing rods to certain questions, and she's had good luck with that. So of course,
Amazing.
that's fine. Everybody, like I said, has their own way of using equipment out there. And she gets feelings, that tell her something's there or not there. And you just take it for what it is, because usually she's right.
Well, then you listen to her then. If she's usually right. Enzo, have you had your own experience with the Bigfoot sighting?
What was that?
I wanted to know if Enzo had ever had his own experience with a sighting.
For Sasquatch? No, I've not had any kind of sighting like that at all. I guess at my root, I'm kind of a city boy and wouldn't know what to do out in the woods. It's like I got ticks on me or something. I itch,
right?
But I'm not that bad. But no, actually, I'm a fairly recent convert for even believing in Bigfoot at all. I'm a big fan of what's his name, Survivor Man, Les
Stroud.
Yeah. And I was a giant fan of Les Stroud's Survivor Man. I'd watch all of them. I thought they were great. And a few years ago, he came out with like a special little series of like 4 or 5 videos that he did about the possibility of Bigfoot being real. And basically, he interviewed a few people, some of which were rather controversial in the Bigfoot community. But and still, he wasn't just accepting what they said as fact, though. He was certainly arguing certain things back and forth with them. But at the end of it all, he was like, I think it's possible, because he has had his own experiences out in the woods up in Canada.
Right.
And things that he can't explain. It's like, I know what a bear looks like. I know what they sound like. I know their prints and all. And that's not whatever this was, you know. And at him, at the end of the day, you know, is it 100% real? You know, is it a, you know, non-discovered primate, North American primate, or is it something else? Is it a lost, you know, civilization of man, or who knows? Whatever you want to believe in for it. He wouldn't speak to that, but he's like, I think it is possible for a, you know, 7 to 8 foot type creature fitting that profile to survive in these woods, to live off the land, to have enough food and enough water, and be able to multiply and stuff like that, have family units. So he says for him, it's possible. It's like, well, if him of all people, if he at least says it's possible, I should at least give it a fair shake myself. So that kind of brought me around. It's like, it's just a bunch of drunken hillbillies telling stories around a fire. To okay, maybe there's something to this too. So
Right. Well, because I was telling Nikki at the beginning of the program is, you know, you remember, you know, hundreds of years ago, the story about the giant squid, and they didn't exist. Well, now we're finding out they do. So that's why you need to leave the door open as far as Sasquatch goes, because we don't know what's in those woods. We have not explored every inch of this globe and, you know, found proof that they don't exist. So that's, I say, I have the door open for that, because you can't say yes or no, because we haven't gotten to that part yet. As far as evidence, Nikki, have you and any of your group ever found like hair or, you know, other footprints, like you said, it was at the campsite or things like that?
We've seen footprints, well, alleged footprints. And for me, I have not found anything that was a print. Well, we saw some out there in Mount St. Helens, but we didn't cast any of them. And you just kind of, you know, if you don't see the creature making the prints, I have a hard time with the, you know, counting that. There's some great tracks out there, some great prints that you can find around, but you know, I don't know. I'm kind of like, is that really evidence? Well, the only ones we have are probably the P&G film, the Patterson-Gimlin footage of that famous Bigfoot walking off, and it's the only one we have that's on video. They got tracks and casts out of that, and there's still a living witness to that. That's the best we have right now. You know, some will say the Freeman footage is also another great video that shows another Bigfoot, the Paul Freeman, but both are riddled with conflict, and you know, there's both sides. People who believe it, people who don't believe it. And in my world, it doesn't really matter. Those things happened 50 years ago, and we're still in the same place right now. We haven't got any more new footage that has those aspects, you know, so even
the thing you would though, because of like, now they have the invention of, you know, the trail cams. You know, hunters use them. A lot of people use them. So you would think somebody would pick up something.
Right. And for that, they say that Bigfoot can tell that they're there and they avoid them, you know, so we don't know.
Super convenient. But
Yeah.
I guess the argument is they can see the infrared sensor that's on it so that it knows when to take the picture.
That's probably not real either, you know.
Yeah,
so.
probably not. That's not a common thing with mammals in general, because everything if basically if they can see heat, if they can see like what the predator does in the movies, where it's got that rainbow kind of a pattern to it,
Right.
everything would look like this shirt. Everything would just sitting around their family group, everybody just is a big red blob. If you had that type of vision, that was your normal vision state. So it doesn't really work out. However, and there's been some, pretty kind of inconclusive stuff. Was it Burchard has like a picture of like a corner of a hand or something like that, sort of like it was reaching in there. And a lot of stuff that, that's not. We can't really say that's exactly what that is, because we're only getting blurry stuff and out of focus stuff, or just a piece of something that could be easily duplicated. So there isn't anything conclusive as far as that goes, but you would think you would at least catch, the dumb ones, the ones that aren't paying attention, that would just be blundering, like a young one that would be blundering through the woods.
The young or the special ones. Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. Or, they're running across an old logging road and get hit by a truck. You don't, that never happens, so it's
exactly.
Right.
And then Jen, I agree that, they know their habitat. So if it's something new, they're going to shy away from it.
Right.
So you have to think that they have that kind of an intelligence where, normal animals, they'll see something you want to get up there. You always see them sniffing it and checking it out. And,
right.
Bears will knock it off the tree. So, this is telling me that, they have more intelligence than just your everyday, run of the mill bear. Or
enough to stay out of view of it. That's the thing. It's how would they even know how to do that?
They know how to be elusive, all this time, and there's supposed to be so many. And my idea is that there's not as many as we think out there. They may even be on the verge of extinction. And there's a lot to that. It's not just low numbers, because what happens when there's low numbers? Are they, you need a viable population. So are they going to the same families? Are they going to start inbreeding? Is that going to cause different malformities? There's all kinds of stuff that you can speculate about these things, because we just don't know. We don't have one to compare anything to. Even if you got hair and you send it away, the probability of contamination is so high without something to compare it to directly, because we don't have a type specimen. It's kind of like you get into this revolving door type thing.
Right.
So,
Michael has a question. He said, does every tree structure have a different meaning, or do they all mean the same thing? Because he says I have some in the shape of an X, and many other formations as well.
Well, you could speculate whatever you want about them. We don't know, because nobody, zero, have filmed one making them. Initially, I think Thomas Steenberg said that, oh my gosh, I can't remember. Jen, do you remember who Thomas said first created the idea? I think it might have been Renee DeHinden said that, well, what if they make tree structures? And then after that, boom, everybody was saying they make tree structures. We don't know. Nobody's recorded them making tree structures. And if they have, or they've seen it, they've never documented it. So is an X mean stay out of my area? Does an X mean this is the maternity ward? Does an X mean,
it's just the way they threw the log?
We don't know. It's whatever you think it is,
Right.
That's your investigation. I do not believe in any of that crap. To me, without us having the solid evidence that it really made it, it's just interesting. Document it.
Right.
Data. All you're doing is collecting data. And if you think that a broken tree is pointing you somewhere, then follow it, see where it goes. That's part of the investigation. But we don't know. Nobody knows. It's just speculation. And that's what's actually kind of fun about it, is not knowing and seeing if you can come up with your own answers. So I know
Wouldn't
groups followed those broken things, and it's led them to caves. They think it's led them to caves. It's led them to big nests out there in the Pacific Northwest that they're saying is a Bigfoot nest. Does Bigfoot really make nests? I don't know. I don't think so. So
I wouldn't necessarily attribute specific things to mean the same thing everywhere too. If you see a big X out in the woods in Oklahoma, where they have a lot of sightings down there, versus, like you say, the Pacific Northwest or out in the middle of Canada, the backcountry in Canada, that X might mean something totally different to these different groups in there, where, this means do not enter in this area. Over here, it means do not enter because this is where I poop, or something like that. You don't know exactly. So it is one of those curiosities. And for sure, I've seen plenty of videos where people are analyzing how intertwined some of the
some of them are amazing. I give you that. Some of them are like, how the heck did that happen? A human being could not do that. So there's unanswered questions about that, especially up in Canada, in Alberta near Nordegg. There are some gigantic, huge tree structures out there. And there's no evidence of a backhoe going in there and creating that stuff. How did that happen?
Yeah, I've never seen one.
I don't know.
So that's interesting. Did they find any footprints around any of these structures to give any kind of proof that maybe a Bigfoot has?
I'm sure there has been. But again, was it a double bear step or is it a Bigfoot? I don't know. Have you seen the back end of a barefoot? Looks just like a foot. Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Of course they have claws, but if the substrate isn't right, you won't actually always capture the claws on there. So,
right, you're just picking up the pad.
Yeah.
So that's, I'll have to look those up because I've never seen one. So that's very interesting. Again, let's see. Michael says that they weren't broken and they were en route and laying down on top of the others.
Often described that way. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be like they're just pushing over the trees and then.
So then ask, what's the climate like? Do you have snow? Do you have ice? What's your season like? What's your winter like? Do you have long winters or do you have short winters? Wind, do you have any kind of wind? Because to me, a lot of that stuff is climate stuff that happens. Do you get microbursts? That's another thing that do stuff.
How big do these structures? What is actually one of the biggest structure that has ever been discovered?
Oh,
maybe it's some kind of a shelter.
The ones up in Alberta are like 50 feet tall. They're huge. There's some 30.
So maybe it is kind of like a shelter.
They're not big. To me, it just doesn't make sense. It's probably if it is that, it's some kind of ritual or something like that. They're not really built good enough to protect from the weather or anything.
Most of it, you're typically what I think of when people talk about structures, you're talking about several trees that are kind of crisscrossed, or maybe like the standing part, like a teepee kind of an idea or something like that, or a yurt. So basically, like if you had like a tarp to wrap around it, it'd be a great structure, but there's never anything like that. It's just like the skeleton of the idea. So,
all right. That explains that.
It's not like a log cabin or anything like that. It's very open.
Well, because like we were saying, and the way they're describing it is they kind of like interwoven. So I figured maybe it was like just like a temporary, like a lean-to type of a deal thing.
And that's the idea. If it's a structure, it would be something like that. But you wouldn't even need to get that intricate with it, where some of them really are, where it isn't just stacking on top of each other in kind of a circle around a tree, and then you can sit on the inside of it like a teepee or a lean-to or whatever you want to call it. Some of them, like you said, are kind of woven into each other and kind of wedged in there where you'd need to be a really big person to do that, because these are not small trees that you find. And as I think someone mentioned in the last one, you've got like the entire root ball ripped out, and it's like on the top that they've wedged it in there somehow. It's like, how? Why?
Crap.
There's been a lot of tree structures that have different type of trees that aren't in that area that had to have been carried and brought there and made into a tree structure. How does that happen? I don't know. Something took it there. You have a whole pine forest and then some birches that are going crazy. Well, where did the birches come from? There's no trunks, no uprooted areas. They're just there hanging off of each other. There's some you can't explain. You can't. So you just have to document, like Jen says, you document everything.
Everything,
that's
data.
Yeah, we fail is documenting all that stuff. The weather, the time, where are you? What did you see? How was the substrate? All this is data, but we're a lot of weekend warriors out here trying to do this for fun. And so it kind of falls in the way.
Thing. I mean, it's good to have all of that documentation, because you don't know, maybe they migrate like a lot of other, herds of animal, and they're only in certain areas at certain times of the year.
Yeah, we got people who do that right now. Matter of fact, in your area, you've got Sasquatch Wizard Adirondacks who is investigating that, where he thinks he sees more things happening during one season than the other season. And,
I'll have to look him up and ask him some questions, because we have a lot of things here in the Adirondacks, but I just never dawned on me that it would be a Sasquatch until that incident with my friend and his daughter. And, when the way she described it, I'm thinking, okay, it wasn't a bear. It was something else.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all know what bears look like here. We've got them. You see them all the time. It's not a big deal. But this was on its hind legs, just standing there next to the tree, and it was watching her. And she said, like I said, about 10 feet tall, and she was, and she's 6'1". And, to make her afraid, because she's not, one of those delicate, little frou-frou girls. She could stand her own. And when she saw that, she says, "No, I'm out of here."
Yeah.
It's just, she didn't know what it was, and it was watching her. And she says, "No."
So Spook Fest just made a comment about seeing 3 flipped around with the root balls up. And with those, it's real important to know where you're at, because it is well known that logging companies flip those around as markers for their company. So if you're in an area that does have logging, you have to be aware of that, that they do the tree flip in order to mark certain areas. They're filibunchers do, they do that. And but there's some really huge uprooted root balls up in Alaska area. How that happened, we don't know. So
that's where I think you would have a big population in Alaska, because I mean, the wilderness they have up there is amazing. So what better place to hide?
Right.
And a lot of people don't go traipsing through there because of the grizzly. So I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Like I said, here we're not worried about the black bears or brown bears, because we're used to them. But I don't do grizzly country. There's nothing you could do to outrun that. You might as well just lay down.
And even a fair size weapon is you hope you hit it the right spot. The few chances
Oh
you're going
yeah.
to get to shoot
Oh
at
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm a pretty good shot with both, with a gun and a bow, but not for that because I would be so afraid that the
Charging
fear would
grizzly.
take
That's
over.
oh yeah.
You're gonna either run or freeze. That's pretty much what happens. Let's see. She says Sasquatch Wizard Adirondacks and Steve Culls works
Mhm.
those areas. Both great folks. Yeah, I'll have to look them up and pick their brains and see what they say because, like I said, it never dawned on me that we would have. I mean, the Adirondacks is big, but
Mhm.
I figure you see something, it's going to be a bear, and you just go along your way.
The few
Yes.
years
Even
I grew up around there, I remember hearing stories.
Oh, yeah, it's well, this is the first time I ever heard of Sasquatch in this area, so I'm thinking, oh, right, well,
a lot. There's a lot.
let's see what they have here, and so now, yeah, because I'm not afraid to be out in the woods here, so now I'm going to have to double think that one. Of course, I have a dog; she's got a big mouth; she'd probably scare it off anyway, so
Yeah.
nothing gets past my dog. Michael says the cool thing about this, I'm not the only one from my area that has heard the strange calls they make. Hi, Jimmy. Welcome. Yeah, it's the noise is definitely original. It's not like because most people who are out in the woods and all of that, we know the difference between like bobcats and mountain lion, bear, screech owls, the owls. So the difference between the critters. Uh, the noise that they heard was just they couldn't they couldn't explain it.
Mhm.
It was just really odd.
Right. Well,
And s-
I know I used to think a lot of stuff in the night, is kind of scary. And then go listen to lynx screaming at each other and go listen to vixen foxes when they're in heat. Holy moly.
They make all kinds of
oh yeah,
crazy sounds.
Do not think you know all the coyote sounds either. They make thousands and thousands of calls. Nobody, they're still trying to document all the different sounds a coyote makes.
Sure.
So, matter of fact, one of the more popular sounds that came out of, I think it came out of Alberta, turned out to be a coyote. And a couple of investigators up there heard it while they were up there. They went to where they heard it, and they actually caught it on video, the coyote making
Oh,
the
wow.
sound.
Right.
So, don't discount
Yeah.
it, just keep it in the
Hey,
back of your head. That's
yeah,
really weird.
exactly.
Document that, and then you try to find it. Gotta try to find it. You gotta capture it making that
Yeah,
sound.
recording it at a minimum from a distance where you're hearing what it sounds like. You can play it back for somebody else later and go through a catalog of different sounds that you can look up for different animals and see which one's close. But yeah, it's part of our ancient memory, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, for our caveman style mind of you're out in the woods in the dark and you hear weird sounds, you're going to assume the worst. It's going to be
Oh my
the
god.
biggest monster.
Squirrel going through the woods at night sounds like it's ginormous.
Yeah, they make one heck of a mess. They just
Yeah. You're like, holy cow, it's coming. Oh, it's a squirrel. I saw a little
right.
bitty tree frog that jumped that made me jump in the middle of the night. It's like, oh my god.
So, you never know what's around the corner. You just don't. See, Michael says at least I got one question right last week. Most of them weren't even trying. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's interesting that you have those kinds of things going around where you are, Michael. So all you just, like Nikki says, document everything that you experience. Keep track of the time of the day, the time of the year. And this way, when you put your data together, then you're going to pick up a pattern. And so then maybe you might be able to catch something.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What area are you in, Michael?
So we'll wait for him to throw it out there. Actually, another question is, and everybody, I hear this from everybody. when you do talk about Bigfoot, because people say, well, why are you going to do a Bigfoot show? Nobody believes in that crap. I says, well, you know what? This is plain ignorance because we don't know everything. And if you're not open to it, you know, you never know. We might be just like the same thing with the giant squid story. Hundreds of years from now, people are going to say, see, they actually existed, but nobody would believe it. What I hear from is, well, why is it that they've never found a Bigfoot bone?
I know the guy who filmed the first giant squid. And yeah, it's an amazing story, actually.
Hi, Steve. Welcome.
Enzo's shirt is top notch. Yep.
Tom Selleck material. You are so right.
He's a big mustache.
Enzo's our Tom Selleck.
I think you'd look.
But yeah, that's the question I always. Well, how come they've never found a bone?
Mm-hmm.
So, what is your response to that?
Okay, so bones in the woods last maybe a week or two. Okay, if they're out in the open, it's got a very fast turnaround with bones, and you do have the what is it? The porcupine who love to eat bones. There's rats who eat bones. So they if it fell and it just died out in the open, it would not take long for predation to happen. You know, it's just going to happen fast. There's also the idea is that they are intelligent enough that they bury their dead. And that's why we see burial mounds. But we also know that the Native Americans did burial mounds. So in some areas, you're not allowed to dig certain mounds out in areas. So they can't be investigated because it could be a Native American burial ground there. So that's another thing. Or it could be a case like where they say elephants go to a specific area to die, that Bigfoots go to a certain area to die, or that, you know, they are taken away. So there's a lot of different ideas behind that. But
Right.
Look at our fossil record. We have very little that has been discovered in our fossil record. If you look at it in the big scheme of things, you have to have the perfect conditions to preserve and fossilize a bone. The perfect substrate, the perfect humidity, the perfect everything. And where are we finding these fossils? The majority of them are in some cave 100 feet down. And some anthropologist pulls up a jawbone that big, you know, and that's where we keep getting information from. So maybe they're out there, but the conditions have to be perfect to get that. We very rarely come up against bear skeletons out in the wild. The same with mountain lions and lynx. We know they're there. Those are known animals, and we have a hard time finding skulls and skeletons of those animals. So, you know, here's an animal that maybe does, you know, get taken care of and hidden away. So who knows if we'll ever find one. But
Right. Well, like I said, there's a lot of animals out there that do eat. I mean, wolves are known to eat pretty much every single thing and just leave tidbits behind. So
right.
Could you imagine that would be one hell of a meal, you know, a Bigfoot. I mean, you've seen on television, you know, what they do to moose. So, or you know, or elk and stuff.
Pretty typical when they do find a deadfall like that. That's they're certainly going to take advantage of it, and usually it ends up like ripping it apart and running off with whatever they can carry to keep, you know, the rest of the pack from getting their little piece. So even if it died in one specific place, pieces of it are going to end up all over the woods, and even further, and then slowly chewed on by everything that lives there. And the good point there that Nikki brings up, that it's usually the first thing I say when somebody asks me that same question is, it's like, do you have woods nearby? Are there deer in it? Have you ever seen a deer skeleton just laying there in the middle of the path where you walk through the woods where one fell down? No, because nature, it takes care of itself as far as cleaning up that stuff and spreading it out all over.
Right. I mean, I can't say I have seen a deer, remnants, but it doesn't last long.
Right.
When we lived in Missouri, yeah, if anything was killed or shot or, killed by a predator out on the farm out there, that it would last only for a little 48 hours tops. And then something would drag it off. So, hi Friday, welcome. So yeah, that's a good point because I always told it, when I say, people say that to me, because, like I said, I'm not an expert in this field, but I said, well, not for nothing. How do we know that nobody has found one? And it was, when they determined what the bone is, maybe they were wrong. Maybe it was a Bigfoot bone and they're saying, well, it was a dinosaur bone or, So again, nobody knows for sure. Like you said, there's a lot of times where they found fossilized bones and they've been totally wrong on what dinosaur or whatever it went to. And then they find out
if it's part of our Homo genus, okay, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards, that it's some type of hominid that shot off maybe 2 to 3 million years ago and came off of maybe Homo naledi or even before that. Who was it? It was trying to think of the other Homo guy. It was Homo habilis. Then maybe it has its own rung of that ladder of life, because we know it was over 10 million years ago that apes sprung off from, orangutans and monkeys and humans. We all took this different sprout. It could have been way back then that they took their own path.
Right.
So we just,
they're going to have their own specific DNA structure.
Yeah.
As far as anybody testing everything.
Because they have those traits, okay, that we're always talking about, it having forward-looking eyes and opposable thumbs and these type of things, then it kind of lends to it being part of a Homo, because there's a lot of people who think that it's comes from Gigantopithecus, which has recently been learned that it probably wasn't an upright walker. It was actually a knuckle walker and is most likely closer to an orangutan and bamboo eater than it was, any of the other primates. So, it's evolving. The evolution evolves and we learn more and more with new techniques. And they were just coming to that now that they have methods of taking the molars that they're finding and studying how those molars are built and what they're built to eat. So, we don't know. It's all speculation. I can say whatever I want, and later it could come out to be something completely wrong. But we all have our ideas, and is it a
to be fair,
I've heard. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's how science works, anyways. Is when new information comes up. I mean, we're all of a certain age. I'm sure when we were all kids in school, all dinosaurs 66 million years ago were all cold-blooded lizards, and of course now today they're teaching kids that were our age back then that they were probably had feathers and were more like ancestors of birds. For a lot of them.
Right.
So that's a pretty big change from what we learned as kids. So
because they were all just lizard type creatures.
Yep.
For sure.
So yeah, you're totally right about that. I remember also hearing, when I was younger, Bigfoot. Bigfoot was, a plant eater, not a meat eater. But how did they know that?
How do they know that? All we know is that people describe a 6 to 8 foot, 600-pound, muscled, barrel-chested, upright walking primate. We're assuming primate in the woods of North America, and for something to be that heavy from the 600 to 1,000-pound range, you have to take in a lot of calories for that to happen. Okay. Look at the elephants and how much they have to eat to maintain their weight and their body structure. The same would have to be for a Bigfoot. They have to maintain a certain amount of calories, and they can't just get that from eating bark and the pine needles and berries.
Especially through the winter too. If they're
Right. Winter, so it makes more sense that if they are a homogeneous, that they would probably eat meat and veg both and be
Right.
omnivorous so that they could keep that calorie intake up. There's also been eyewitness accounts of seeing Bigfoot carrying off deer and pigs and dogs. So there's that,
Oh, wow.
and stealing chickens too. There's also a case of one that was going into somebody's chicken coop and taking
Chickens always get picked on.
Yeah.
I think it's 'cause chickens are easy prey.
it's their fault for being so delicious. It's
That's what it is. Everything tastes like chicken anyway. So I mean, it's but yeah, see that makes more sense. And like you said, if they're finding teeth and they're studying it, and if it does go to that species, then you're going to know by the teeth itself whether it is a meat eater or not, because the teeth are totally different.
They do look way different according to each mammal's diets.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah, because we have specific teeth for biting, tearing, and chewing. So it's if you're just meant for vegetable, it's not going to be as as our teeth are, the way they're built. If we were supposed to just eat vegetables, then we wouldn't have what we have as anatomy for our teeth. So the same would go for other species as well. So yeah, that's but have you guys have never found anything like that? Teeth? Have you found hair or none of that stuff, huh?
No. My way of researching, I'm not real big on collecting of evidence, because for me, if you want to collect evidence, I think that's very inspiring that you want to do that. But I think you need to think it through, because you can't just go pick up some hair off the ground. You have to follow a chain of evidence, and you have to do it correctly. You have to act like the true scientist if you want it to really get taken seriously. You have to have the mask, the gloves, the envelope to put the samples in, the tweezers to pick it up off the ground, and then you need to know where you're going to send it. It costs anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 to have that DNA tested.
Wow.
So you need to have the hookup already ready to go. Why collect the hair if you're just going to keep it there and say it's Sasquatch hair when you don't know if it's a deer or a bear or what,
Keep it in a mason jar up on the fireplace and tell stories about it. But as Nikki says, she's exactly right. Is you basically have to treat it like a crime scene. We've all seen the various CSI shows over the years, I'm sure. You can't just go grabbing it. Oh, here's a chunk of hair on this piece of branch. I'll just shove it in my backpack and we'll send it off to the lab when we get. No, that ain't gonna work, because that's gonna have now your DNA and plus whatever beef jerky bag you use to stuff it in and all that stuff. So
that's the biggest problem.
It's amazing. People don't think of that stuff, so that's great. We don't think of that, but that makes sense. Yeah,
that's the thing is poop. You get so many researchers who think, oh my gosh, this is a strange looking poop. It's Bigfoot poop. And they collect it, and then they put it in their freezer without doing anything with it. If you're going to do that, for goodness sakes, do your homework, figure out how DNA works. DNA isn't in the poop. DNA is what sloughs off the outside of the poop from skin cells. So when you're collecting that evidence, you need to carefully get the outside layer of that poop and collect that in the same method I said before. And it needs to be put into a solution that will preserve it. Then you have to send it to somebody to analyze that. And it has to happen rather fast because DNA degrades. It has a half-life. You have to get it in and out. The more you freeze it and unfreeze it, that destroys DNA. Now, people say, no, poop has DNA. Of course it does. It has DNA for every single thing.
Yeah.
8.
It's 8. Yeah. There you go.
Bacteria DNA, you're going to have a million, all kinds of stuff in there. That's not what
and
you
unfortunately, what they found, and when they have it tested, they're going to find Taco Bell because it was from the hunter that was there the day before.
Yeah, they're going to have that other stuff that they don't want. So,
see, it's fantastic. Like I said, nobody, we do this discussion and everything is, this is all a load of crap, but nobody's really thinking about what kind of a science this actually is. And what you have to research just to know what you're doing out there.
You do. We're citizen scientists, and sometimes you just have to do the research and know what you're doing.
And those DNA tests are not cheap, right? What's
No.
have you done research on that? How much that costs nowadays?
It was $1,500 to $3,000. It depends on where you send it. If you send it to a college or to a biologist there. Some people I have known did that domestic animal DNA thing where they go to try to check what their dog's genetics are and stuff like that. And they just come back as contaminated, human contaminated. So you got to think when this DNA does come out, it is going to look weird. It's going to look like a human, the DNA, but without a specific specimen type, meaning that we don't have one in a freezer of Bigfoot, to type of, you're never going to know the answer because it's always going to come back looking contaminated with human. That's my take on it. That it's going to be hard to do that. We do have a couple of people in the community who are running DNA testing right now. So who knows what will come of that? There's a lot of projects out there. There's a lot of people who take it super serious and spend the thousands of dollars.
I mean, you're all in, and especially if they've seen things and heard things and picked up things, then it's just like the paranormal. It's going to make you want to keep going further until you get those answers, but like I said, I never thought that there would be such an in-depth
process. It's a process.
Yeah. And that's why I'm glad I've done this with you, because it's like I said, nobody knows this. We didn't know. What if Bigfoot hunter? What do you do? Go out in the woods and it's not like using a deer call. You guys are actually, it's very scientific, just like most of these fields out here. So and I never thought that it was just that much of a process, to be honest, to do
a thing in the field is called eDNA, environmental DNA, where some are taking water samples from tributaries that all run together into one. Then they get a sample of that water and they're testing that water for all the different DNAs that come out of that. But you're going to get a whole smorgasbord of DNA out of doing that, including human. So, but it's process, it's progress actually by doing these different experiments and seeing what happens. Maybe, we'll find something. If a primate comes up in that DNA, then that's interesting, right? And it means we need to go
Right.
out there and put boots on the ground.
Right.
You also see technologies like drone usage. We've got a lot of groups who've got drones up in the air, and they're trying to see what they find from that. So
Trying to figure it out.
yeah,
Spookfest says, so did you guys see the new whale, never before seen 25-foot whale, new to science just the other day, new cryptid, now not a cryptid anymore?
Hmm.
I
I
did
do
not
believe
see
I
that,
was hearing a story of something about
but
that.
when it comes to stuff in our oceans, I'm shocked we don't find more new stuff almost every single day because it's so vast, and especially the really deep areas where that's a whole other biome that we have no idea of in those super deep areas.
Exactly.
Oh.
So yeah, we always have to ask Enzo those questions because
It's there be dragons here. It's
right.
there's
We
certainly
don't. But I do remember hearing something about it, Spookfest.
I didn't see it though.
But I didn't follow up on the story. But yet again, see, and now something else. Again, like another one. My husband's seen a thing about that shark that was alive. Way,
The
way, way back. The
Megalodon?
megalodon. Thank you. I couldn't think of what it was. And they're saying that it's still existing in the depths of the ocean, and my husband doesn't believe it. He says because the way that it fed, he says there wouldn't be anything left in the ocean because it would eat everything.
Right. It would have to eat a lot, I think.
Yeah.
So who knows? I don't know.
Because it would
I
have
don't
to
want
eat
to
like
find out.
a giant sperm whale every day almost, I would think, just to survive.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I
So,
think there's probably a really big great white out there, like huge, but I don't know if Megalodon's still out there.
Well, one of the things a few years ago, there was they made like a mini doc about it. I don't remember where you can see it now, but where basically they had tagged a great white shark with a probe that had telemetry on it, so they could tell exactly how deep it was going, and it measured the heart rate and all that other stuff on it. And it suddenly started getting like it went down deep, and then there was something where it was kind of still for a moment, and then it was like going down really deep and getting really hot. Basically, they thought something else ate it, and it was being inside something else being digested, and they're picking up this stuff. And that's where a lot of stories recently was like, maybe Megalodon's real, because what else can eat this monstrous great white shark? And
right.
during that special, they did show some like really huge great white sharks. One of them was so big it almost had like a potbelly looking structure to it because it was just so big. Just monsters. They're straight up monsters in the ocean. Don't go into the ocean.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, that's why I don't go in there. We steer away from that. Do any of you guys have any questions for Enzo or Nikki on this subject? Just shoot them out.
Probably omnivorous. It probably is a forager and will eat whatever they come upon. That's my take on it. I think they need anything they can get a hold of.
Hi, Dragon Ranger. Welcome. No, you're not late. We're just in the meat of all of it, so don't worry about it. Like I said, if anybody has any questions, shoot them out. I do have a question about as far as areas on sightings, where do you think basically, well, I would say in the United States or on the outskirts, where has there been the most sightings of Sasquatch? Has anybody kept track of that?
Mm-hmm. The Pacific Northwest has the most sightings reported, but they are all over. They are all over the Adirondacks. They are all over the Kentucky areas, the Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, down in
It's got a ton.
the Big Thicket area has recorded a bunch, and like I said, all in northern New Mexico, northern Arizona. The Sierra Nevadas of California, the Bluff Creek area is one of the most famous areas for Bigfoot. They even say you have the skunk ape down in Florida. And one thing is that the names, every different place has their own type of names for them. Cherokee Devil, the Wood Boogers, the
Oh, I've never heard
um
of that one.
Oh yeah.
uh, the
That one I've
Sabe,
never heard of.
the Sabe, the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, the Saskets, it's just, there's thousands of names. I mean, I
Right.
think somewhere I have a list of names that I started to gather. Okay.
That's funny.
Of course, around the world, you even have sightings of the Yeti, the Almas, the Almusty, um,
Yowie.
the Yeren, the Yowie. Yeah. But here we've got the Grassman, the Mogia Monster, the Oma, the Momo, the Skookum, um, the Falk Monster,
I've never heard of
the
any
Honey
of
Island
this.
Monster, the Buckwas. So it's unending. Cherokee Devil. I don't know if I said that one or not already, but there's a bunch.
There's a lot
Wow.
of-
Yeah. Never heard of it. Well, I've heard of Yeti and, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, skunk ape. There might have been a couple others you said that I've heard of, but
Wood
the
booger
rest
is
of them,
usually a favorite for those offset names because it's just sounds
that's
crazy.
hysterical. Never heard of that. Let's see. Dragon says Colorado has had sightings as long as I can remember, born and raised there.
I lived
Yeah, I
in
believe because of all the wooded area that they have.
Mhm. I used to go up to
Um,
the Pikes Peak area, up to the Castle Rock area. Beautiful area.
yeah,
Never
I
saw
can live
Bigfoot
there.
there though. But yeah, it was a good area to live
Hoofest
in.
says, yeah, Wood Booger is Virginia.
Mhm.
That's funny. I'm sorry. Who comes up with these names? It's, I know a lot of them are like, Indian names that, the tribes along the way have given them, but Wood Booger, I mean,
Yeah.
let's see. Bigfoot mapping project is a good source.
It
Yeah. Do you think that they're a migratory animal?
makes sense. It makes sense that they go to warmer climates when it's cold. I mean, unless you are, well, there's theories that they find cave systems to go into during the winter, but there's no evidence of that. But it just makes more sense that they would migrate to warmer climates, lower elevations during the winter time. And then when it's summer, they go back up into the mountains. So it just makes sense. You just want something that's a viable explanation.
Right.
Right.
And to be fair, when we say migratory, or when you say migratory, we're not talking about going from the Gulf
Oh,
of Mexico to Lake Huron or anything like that.
Right.
You're
Right.
just within that general area that they happen to live. You're going to have an easier time when you're closer to the water. During certain times of year, and more
Right.
game and out. When it gets into the spring and summertime, out. More food and stuff out further around. So assuming that they're omnivores, you would want to stay closer to like a running river where you might catch a fish or some other animal like a deer or whatever that happens to be down there getting a drink, during the winter. So
Right.
it makes sense. I feel that they wouldn't necessarily live in one spot and that's it. You're going to go where the food is.
mhm.
Well, and like you said, better living conditions as per the season. So they would make sense. Yeah, see, there's a lot of things that none of us have really actually thought about it. And you don't think about this stuff unless you're actually into this community or into the stories. So that's why I really I'm glad I did this. And I'm glad you guys joined me for this because we're learning so much. We really are. And you never know. And hopefully, all of the years that you've been doing this, Nikki, maybe you will find something. And
Maybe, like I said, I don't get out any as much as I want to. I mean, I wish I could go out there every weekend, but I'm still got my kid, and I have my last one is finally a senior in high school. So, I'll start having more time to myself where I can just get up and go, because now they're got their own vehicles. I don't have to take them anywhere. So it's hopefully in the next year or so I can be more free to do what I want and get up to my area, because my area is 2 hours from where I live. So it's a day, it's a whole day to go up there and back, and then hike around. So it's a major event. I don't have anything in my backyard where I can just go and jump on a trail. So hopefully in the near future, I'll do more. But I do make one big trip a year somewhere. And we've done it 2 years in a row now. So we started out at Mount St. Helens. And this year we went to Sasquatch Provincial Park in British Columbia. We did a Canada thing. So that was amazing, getting to go up there and look. I actually went to sighting areas, so it was really neat to have those investigation reports in front of me and actually be in the place that it happened. So it was nice.
So yeah, that's great. Well, yeah, and I know how you feel. It's with the paranormal. I'm limited now because I'm getting older, and stuff doesn't work like it used to.
Yeah, yeah.
You do you do the best you can.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with the young guys, and I'm like, holy cow, I can't. I'm done. I am done. I can't. I still have to walk an hour out. I'm done right now, guys. Sorry. Because you get
drag me out. I'm over.
all those guys out there, and nope, I can't do that. So, but it's still fun to try to do all that.
So, how long do you think that you will continue doing this kind of research? Even if you can't go anymore, will you continue to sit at home and then just gather data from others? Or
I've always been an armchair researcher. I don't think that's a bad word. Some people do. But I mean, I get out. I'm just not every weekend type of person. I get out and do intense research, and then I do a lot of my research on here, and that's okay, because I learn from more people through the watching what they've got to offer, and breaking down videos and researching, which if you watch my shows, I will find a video, I'll find a picture, and I will tell you where that came from. I will research it down to finding who hoaxed it, or if it wasn't a hoax, it was just something that got taken and spread, because we all know somebody takes a picture and then they put their own little spin to it, and then it gets a life of its own. And that happens a lot in this community. And the same hoaxes will come up over and over because we have so many new people coming into the field. But I can tell you that over the last 2 years since I've had my show, that I have, I can even show you I'll show you one of my 12 books that has so much information and pictures, articles, and research that I've done, just, to make sure that the information I'm putting out is correct. And yeah, I've got a whole library.
That's wonderful.
So, and it just, now everything's messed up over here. Okay. But it's just a passion, and I don't want it. Right. There have been moments where I almost walked away, no doubt. That drama exists in any field on the internet and social media.
Yes.
Drama in the paranormal, drama in the UFO, drama in the Bigfoot community. And it happens a lot. And you just have to get a thick skin and try to get through those times. And I try to do that, without too much damage, and try to keep my show as true as I can and be honest, treat people with respect, and, try to teach some people. So
that's great. See, that's why, it's wonderful. And again, thank you, Enzo, for recommending her, because I was searching and searching, and I come across so many people, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not going to do them on the show, because you get that feeling like, yeah, he's just like a weekend warrior.
Right.
And they claim to be, they have all of this and this and this. And I'm thinking, no, see, I wanted somebody that actually has a true passion for what they're doing. And the research you do is phenomenal. And I'm big on research and history, and teaching others stuff that we don't know. So you were the perfect person for this. Because at least we know what you're telling is honest. And, you're going to tell them whether they like what they're hearing or not.
Yeah.
I'm the same way with the paranormal. I'm either you're going to ask me, I'm going to tell you the truth. If you want to sugarcoat it, then go to the fake channels. On here, we're giving you true history, true data, to the best of my ability, and especially with my guests, to the best of their abilities.
Right.
And again, like the drama, we try to stay away from the drama because I can't stand it.
You
But
get
sometimes,
sucked in.
you get sucked in. Yeah, you do. And it's just a hot mess. And so I try to just, align myself with the people that feel the way that I feel, and the communities that, that I'm involved with. And
Right.
and it's great. Like Enzo, we're gonna have Enzo on next week. Doing a UFO show, guys. So if you're up for that, because we gotta find out what's going out there in that night sky.
There's a lot of crossover for a lot of the experiences for all of our separate fields. I know, like for me, I've just been so disgusted with the state of ufology, where nobody's doing research. They're just sitting around bitching at each other about their team is right and that team is wrong. Kindergarten, like junior high level stuff that I've decided, hey, I'm retired. I can go wherever I want, whenever I want. I'm going to make a van and go on an adventure and go get my own stuff. I'm going to go track down UFO hotspots and go there and have the thermal cameras and have the telescopes out and have the different things out. I'm going to start doing my own research, and I'm going to bring that to YouTube and maybe do like a weekly, this is what I found this weekend, wherever I am.
Oh, look forward to that. That'll be great.
Yeah,
because I go, everybody I think has noticed the rise in UFO sightings, and I loved when you were on Karen's program, Enzo, and you had you pointed out the two different videos, and how they took the one section. It was when they had the Walt Disney celebration with the bar lights.
Oh yes. This was when they had the UFO flap, and somebody submitted the stuff. It was from Hawaii.
Right. So, they did a good job with it. But then when you pointed that out, I'm thinking, hey,
it's out of context. Right. Yeah, this looks like a landing. We're getting invaded. But when you see the other angle of it, you can see it's a drone show, and it's making little shapes. It was for the Pokemon International Playoff Festival or something like that in Hawaii.
Oh man.
And and that happens a lot. I mean, just people I don't know if that original video was they just didn't know that it was a drone show, and they just saw crazy lights going all over and thought it was an invasion. If that's the case, sorry to tell you that. Or they know exactly what it was and then just said, it's a crazy. My first indicator was it was on TikTok. Almost 0% chance of seeing an actual UFO anywhere on TikTok. It's all fake.
I don't watch any of that stuff. I don't even know how to work TikTok. It's terrible.
You're not missing anything.
Yeah, but that was great, because like I said, you're looking at it, you're like, wait a minute, and then it's kind of odd though. And then when you went over it with us, see, that's the difference between having information, doing research, and just saying, oh yeah, oh no, that guy's right.
Yeah. And to be fair, during that same show, we did show some other videos from that area. One of them was really strange, and I can't explain what it was. And just that very last one with all the lights going all over the place in the sky. That one's still one of those. It's like I don't know what that is exactly.
All right.
But
yeah, I agree,
I'm going to start going out and just getting my own stuff, because with AI and so much stuff that's so easy to fake or just misrepresented by only seeing a part of it, where like that one video where it looks like an alien landed on the beach. No, it's a drone.
Yep.
So I'm just going to start going out and getting my own stuff. There's wild stuff out there. You got to be out there to film it, and I have that kind of time now at this point in my life, so I can go out there and do more.
That's great.
Of that.
Yeah, that's great. We'll look forward to that. Michael, you're right. Yes, the drama in the debunking community is a hot mess. You try to stay out of it, but it's kind of hard sometimes. But let's see. Friday says far too much drama in that community. Please don't want their content to be under. Yeah, they don't want it to be put on, and it's any community though. Don't want their stuff put underneath the microscope. Because that opens the door for people like Nikki to say, well, sorry, but you're full of shit. That's not what that is.
Exactly. Exactly.
And see, that's what it is. You get the people out there that are doing that now, as well as, like I said, the paranormal community has their own debunking group. I pretty much call them the paranormal police. Do you have something similar in the Sasquatch community?
Oh yeah, me.
Yeah, she's the one.
There's a whole group of there's a group, they call us the critical thinkers. Okay. Because
like that's a bad thing.
I know it is. We've become the Bigfoot police, and we don't want to be, but it happens because we want people to think about what they're saying. You're saying it does this. Well, why are you saying that? How can you prove it's doing that? We would just want to take it further, but people want you so bad to they want to put a picture up and believe it.
Yes.
Right.
And that's just not the way some people work. I don't work that way. I want to know why you believe that tree right there is a Bigfoot. Tell me why you think that, So we take it a little far sometimes, but if you post something publicly, be prepared for that. Everything's fair game once you publicly post your evidence, what you're calling your evidence.
Right.
It's fun for me, though.
So yeah, I think every community, and same thing, Enzo, like you said, in the UFO community, the same. You've got the UFO police, and they're out there telling everybody, no, this is not like what you say in that video. Right. Okay, you see what they were doing, but come on. When you find the evidence.
There is a way to do it tactfully, which I feel Nikki is pretty fair about. It's like, hey, just so you know, that's actually a picture of a bear, a dog, or whatever it is, and giving evidence for that. But to be honest, a lot of people put way too much faith in the picture quality that comes out of one of these than they really should. In my thing, these are not designed for shooting pinpoints of light zipping around the sky at night. It is just not worth it. But some of the newer, this past generation of phones, the cameras are at least high resolution enough and have night shot type capabilities in it, where we're just at the edge where it's like, okay, that's a little more acceptable versus lower grade stuff where it's just awful. But I always do like a mini class whenever I do any public speaking about it. It's like, okay, if you're using it, well, one, turn your phone this way, not that way, and try and focus, try and keep something in frame in the foreground, like if you're filming something in the sky, so you have a sense of what it is. Because if it's zipping around, we're not going to know if you're trying to zoom in really tight doing one of these. That doesn't help anybody. But the same thing goes with like on the Bigfoot side. A ton of people will take a picture of something out in the woods and they'll look at it later and they zoom way in on it and it's all pixelated looking like a Minecraft thing. It's like, oh, I see eyes and there's a nose and there's a happy face smile and there's obviously a Bigfoot in it. It's like,
yeah, no. Yeah, right. Right.
I gotta be honest, that's this is not a piece of evidence that I would take to any scientific community. It's like, look, I captured it. This is the proof that this exists. Like, no.
Yeah, no. Just once, I would love it if actually somebody did take any kind of a photograph or a video, because everything that you see is so pixelated and just so crappy. But they swear, oh no, that's Bigfoot. Just with the technology we have and the education that people get as far as photography and all that, I'd love to see an actual great photograph. Something like that.
On the Bigfoot side, the best that we have is from 1967, the Patty film. And people, of course, will argue that go back and forth on if that's even real or not.
Yeah.
There's plenty of stories of I heard from a guy that knows the person that was the roommate of my brother's friend that they made the costume for it. That kind of those kind of convoluted stories. I don't know, but there's certainly, for the time of that video, doing it it's not your Spirit of Halloween monkey costume of a person running around in the woods. There's a way more to it than that. And that's from 67 or whatever year that was.
Yeah.
And and that's the best we've got for the most part for full frame, actual moving. Granted, it was at a distance while a guy was on horseback with a, not even a video camera, an actual film camera. That actually probably helped it, to be honest, to make it as good as it was. But that's the best we got. And UFOs aren't that much better.
Right.
At least Bigfoot side, you guys have closet fulls of plaster casts of footy prints and stuff. UFOs, we got streaky, blurry stuff in the sky, and that's kind of it. And then there's whole other stories after the contact side that's a whole other rabbit hole.
All right, and don't forget those crop circles now.
Yep, there's crop circles.
See that? Bigfoot just went by. See?
That's right.
Damn, and I didn't have my camera out.
Yeah, I love the people that have the arguments like, everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody should be able to take a picture of it. It's like, Bigfoot just went by on the screen there. Who got a picture of it?
Yeah, not me.
Yeah.
And not for nothing. Not everybody knows how to work their phones. My phone does incredible things. I don't know half of what my phone does. I take pictures my son takes it and takes a picture. He can get it where he can pick up the craters on the moon with my phone. And he laughs at me. I thought, oh, you're really funny. So you got to know how to use that equipment.
This is mostly used for selfies and cat videos, and that's kind of it.
There you go.
Oh man.
I know more with my 35 millimeter than I do with my cell phone because I don't use the cell phone for that kind of stuff. It's just to communicate with everybody and get my messages and stuff. Because I know everybody has it in their hand all the time, and I might see something or be out somewhere. And they go, "Why didn't you take your phone out?" So I didn't think about it. I just don't think about it. So I don't know. I think it's just what generation you've been in or who you are. I'm just not one of those people that have the phone out all the time. So I'll never catch a Bigfoot. Unless I'm doing a shoot somewhere out in a field with my other camera, then I might be lucky. But otherwise, forget it. It's not going to happen on the cell phone.
It really does kind of boil down to you almost need it, like if you're intentionally going out into the woods to kind of look around, at least there's always going to be that I didn't have enough chance. So you almost have to have that thing bolted to your head and filming the entire time. Or a police style body cam or, the shoulder mounted kind of, action camera or something like that, which a lot of people are going to exactly that. Cause you miss 100% of the shots you don't take kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Right. And I like this because I've, thought about doing that during investigations. Of course, I don't go out that often anymore, but wearing some kind of a body cam actually on my back. Because everyone go, oh, what's behind you? And you just keep having to turn back and forth. And that's a big pain in the ass. So just figure if you strap one to your back, everybody sees what's going on from each end. And that should be good enough. But the story I told you about my friends who had the experience up in the mountain, his daughter always has her phone out. So that's why it shocked me that one day she had it in her pocket and comes face to face with something that she couldn't explain. I said the one time, because her father was teasing her. Because the one time you don't have the damn phone out.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Yeah.
Because she takes pictures of everything. And she goes, I know.
Some of my investigator friends, because my plan for like my little travel van to go do my little adventure thing is I'm going to have cameras all the way on the outside of it, filming every moment of every day. Because how many, especially like Bigfoot stories or just cryptid stories in general, start with, I was driving down this dark, lonely dirt road in the middle of the night, and then it jumped out in front of me. And, all that. It's like, if you've got a camera pointed that way, maybe someone will believe you.
This is a good idea. My husband and I, if there's a dirt road around here, I've been on it. I'm telling you. And we've never seen anything like that. Of course, most of the time it isn't at night. It's during the day. But yeah, if there's a dirt road, we've been on it, no matter what it looks like. So I should probably just get like a dash cam, so just in case. You never know.
That's better than nothing,
Right. Actually, the last few roads we've been down, I never know how we made it. That's why we want to try.
There's that. As Jen says, however many hours you spend walking in the woods, that's how much time you're going to be spending watching that rear-facing camera that you have. And you're probably not going to do it until you get home. So you're not even going to have the satisfaction of like, when I was at this point, that's when it was trying to sneak up on me. So I know exactly where you got to wait till the next time you go out into the woods to try and track.
No, I know people who put out like 4 to 6 audio recorders, and I'm like, you realize you have to go listen to that?
Yes.
All night you had left that recorder out. Well, you got to listen to it. What good is it putting it out there? So I have one just for emergencies around if something happens around my 10 at night and it wakes me up, then I have that. But putting it out there in the woods and stuff, that's for the hardcore guys to do, because I'm not going to review all that crap.
Yeah,
like you said, for hours. Yeah, the last time I was out, I did catch EVP on the recorder, and I've been listening to that for over 2 weeks now. The same clips over and over, because there's something there. It's just not clear enough for me to make out every word, and I'm determined to hear every word. And so it's over and over and over.
Yeah.
My husband comes and checks on me. He goes, "You all right there?" I go, "Yeah, I'm fine." So it's just, you're determined to get, the truth. And, it's, the more you put out, the more you got to review.
Yeah. And that brings up actually another point about for any of these things, whichever ones you like to focus on, or maybe even all of them, is you can get too hooked into it. You can get in a little over your head, and it's kind of easy to do, especially when you get, it gets super weird and you're trying to figure it all out, where people have kind of driven themselves crazy over it. There's, plenty of stories on the UFO side where people start off as credible, legitimate researchers. They go out in the field, they do a lot of stuff, and then you check back in with them a few years later, and the Space Brothers are going to save us all. And they sent me a message through the mind crystal just a few days ago to tell me they're coming. And it's like, what happened to you, dude?
Yeah. I had tea with Bigfoot the other day. He told me all about it.
Right.
Yeah.
He secretly told me he doesn't really like Jack's links at all. He's more of a Peekaboo guy. But
yeah, it's true. You can go overboard. And like Nikki had mentioned before, you said how that you get burned out, and then there's times where you're thinking, "What am I doing?"
Right.
Because I've been there.
Thursday nights, Fridays, when I'm building the show, I'm like, do I want to do this anymore?
Right. I need to have my head checked, because that's
I'm like, I want to watch Netflix tonight. I don't want to work on the show. Every week.
But we just keep going. We keep going. What's here? Let's see. Dragon Ranger goes 2 records for 8 hours is over 16 hours of review, because there are things that you're going to need to listen to more than once to figure out what it is for sure. Yeah, that's what I do, and I think that's what everybody does. And people out there don't realize, oh, it's only a couple of hours, but but that's only a couple of hours record time. Again, 8, 16, whatever hours of review to figure out what you caught.
Yeah.
And I would think Bigfoot would be even harder as a review in footage, audio or visual, because you're dealing with just a bigger space.
Another thing to consider is that when you're listening to audio and you're Bigfooting, okay, is that aspect of the paranormal that you might also record out of body, sounds, or
disembodied sound.
Yeah, other than Bigfoot. You may be in a highly ghosty area, with a lot of tragedy, and we kind of want to believe that, trauma stays in environments and gets replayed over and over, and that could also lend to some of the sounds you're hearing. So there's a fine line with that paranormal and with Bigfoot, and I try to keep them separate right now, but you have to have a little bit of an open mind to some of the stuff,
So any of the audio that you have ever listened to, have you ever picked up any voices outside of your own, and will you believe to be a Bigfoot?
Not really. I mean, I hear sounds, but I'm not real quick to assumption. For me, everything is not Bigfoot. Okay, I'm on the other end. You have a lot of people who are saying that I don't know what that sound is, therefore it's Bigfoot. Okay,
right.
Bigfoot on the brain syndrome. Okay, so I am not like that. I need a lot more evidence to be able to say, well, I don't know what that sound is, but I don't think it's Bigfoot. I need to eliminate deer and elk and raccoons and skunks and whatever I know is out there before I would say, that's a Bigfoot, and
right.
So, but that's me. A lot of hunters and investigators who are hunters, who have spent a lot of time out in the wilderness and know all those known sounds, they may come from the other angle and say, I know a lot of the sounds out there, and that is not anything I've ever heard before. Maybe it's potentially something else. It could be a Bigfoot. I'm not a hunter. I'm not a tracker. I'm a lay person at this. But I learn. I know how to learn. I know how to watch a video and learn from other people who are experts at that. We're not Bigfoot experts. I'm not a Bigfoot expert. But there are people in the field who are experts at things. We've got photographers. We've got trackers. We've got hunters. We've got a bunch of different people who bring in expertise. But as far as being a Bigfoot expert, there isn't one, because we don't have one on the slab. We've never checked it out. We don't have all that information at this point. So it's just speculation and fun, and we keep doing it. Pretty much.
It's pretty much, I think, why we are all doing what we do. Because nobody's an expert in any of these fields. It's and we just
the ones that tell you they are probably full of crap, or at least have a book to say.
That's pretty much what I say. Crap.
To find out the real truth, check out my Patreon.
Yeah. I know, isn't that something? And they always seem to throw it in there.
Friday House says, and it's not a demon. We have people in the community who feel that it is a fallen angel, that it is a demon, and that they know the name. I won't tell you the name of the person, but they call him Argo. If Jen's out there, she can verify this guy every time. Will come around and say,
Okay.
talks to me. This is his name. He's a demon. He's, comes out of a portal and all that stuff. So,
Oh boy. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's issues right there just in that one statement.
Right. And to be fair, that even goes over to the UFO side. There's been a lot of stories over the years out of high-ranking people at the Pentagon that don't want to have anything to do with the subject because they believe that they're not aliens from another planet or dimension or whatever. They're demons.
Yeah.
well, I've had my fair share of paranormal experiences. So I'd like to think that I can keep them separate until otherwise something happens, until I
Right.
see one disappear into a tree or, get swooped up by an alien. I'm not gonna believe it until it happens. That's gonna have to be something I see.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah. I mean, you're going to believe in your own experience, and whether you choose to investigate it or not is, an
right.
individual choice. And I love it when people share their experiences as far as the paranormal goes. But this is a Bigfoot show, guys. So,
Yeah.
any Bigfoot questions? Let's throw out those questions. So we keep Nikki going here. Jen says,
Right.
fart
Fart
out
out.
an orb. Well,
We've been saying that. That was kind of like we've been talking about that. So it was like we're not going to believe it until we see a Bigfoot fart out an orb. We're not going to believe the orbs are associated with Bigfoot. We see that. It's funny.
What's
Thank you.
since we got a
Go
little
ahead.
second here, Nikki? I recently watched that Face of Beauty. Is that the name of the show? It's on
Flash.
YouTube. Flash of Beauty. That was it.
Mhm.
And I watched the original one and then the paranormal one that they obviously filmed all the people at the same time when and then cut it up so that
Yeah.
anyways. They showed the video, the cloaking video that the one lady had. And I was wondering if you had a comment on that.
Yeah, her name is Barb Shoop, and she had a video where she had a group of people and they're walking out in the woods and something moves, and they're very like, oh, did you see that? What was that? And that's the end. But when they go back to review it, you just see something kind of transparent, but you can see something undulate, move, and go off. That's it. That's all you see in this video. But they are claiming that it's a baby Bigfoot out there, moving down off a tree. On my analysis, when I first saw that and put it up on my big screen, matter of fact, going back and forth watching this, to me, I think it's just a big squirrel that when it hops down, you're seeing the butt end with the big white tail, and it's kind of blending in. It's having this cloaking effect as it's bouncing down off this thing. That's what I see. That's not what they see. And they were there in person. I was not there in person. So everybody's going to have their own take on it. She seemed like a nice gal. I used to follow her. I don't follow her anymore, only because she's gone towards what we call the woo side, where she believes more in the cloaking and disappearing and going into orbs and all that stuff. And I don't believe in that. And it's a big separation in the community between those who believe in that and people who believe they're flesh and blood. So, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting to watch, and you do see something on that video.
Right. The intention of it is that, well, at least what they say, that it's like the comparison is like the Predator movies where the Predator's got that cloaking device where you can sort of see through it a little bit. It does kind of sort of look like that, where you can see trees and brush kind of moving, but you don't really see what it is that's moving it. So it's like, ooh, that's kind of weird.
Hoaxed it or made it up or anything. Something was there and moved, I don't know what, but I never got the feeling that she's a hoaxer or being untruthful in the way she does her videos. So
Right. Friday has a question. Why do you feel that Bigfoot is so hard to prove, assuming it is real?
I don't know. That's the big question. That's a question we did a 3-hour show last night about on my channel. Is why can't
It
we
was
find
good.
it?
The debate was good. Everybody needs to go and check that out.
The last half hour was just the guys going at it. Okay, the main part is the hours of my show, but it, why can't we? Technology, we have technology, we have the people out there, and we still don't have anything as good as the PNG film or the Freeman footage. It's just, it's not there, and why? We don't know why. But we go through it. Last night we went through those questions, and you believe what you want to believe. If you see some photos out there and you say, oh, that looks like a Bigfoot, and you believe in it. My thoughts on this is I believe in Bigfoot not because of the evidence, but because of the actual encounters, the reports of the encounters, because not all thousands and thousands of reports out there are fake,
Right.
And I personally know people that I have gotten to know over these last 10 years who I wholeheartedly believe in their encounters. And, that's not really proof, but that's how I base my belief in Bigfoot, is from other people's encounters. It's not from the PNG film. I could care less if it's real or not real, a guy in a suit or the real Patty. It doesn't, because we're in the same position right now as we were back then.
Back then, no progress. That's the shame.
Right.
Friday, I have a link for both of her channels in the description. Michael says, question, what would Bigfoot think of us humans, or would he be as skeptical of us as we are of them?
Well, it depends if you think they're highly intelligent or if they're more animal based, right? If you believe they're more of a primate, wood ape, possibly, in the first wood ape in North America, then you would be looking at instincts. They are instinctual, just like a deer would want to stay away from us, as anything else sees us as the higher part of the hierarchy of, the, what's it called? Oh, I'm getting hungry now. That's why. We are the top of the list.
Food chain, the apex predator. Yeah.
They're apex predator. That's what I was looking at. We're the apex predator here. So, that would explain that. But if they're highly intelligent, then they know that we screw up everything. We fuck everything up. So us.
Humans suck. Screw those guys.
We
Exactly.
We're pushing them out of their natural habitats. We're encroaching on all their areas. They got to know that. They have to know that there's guns, that we shoot things, that we kill deer. So
I would say they are very much aware of us and are going to great lengths to avoid us.
Yeah.
Which is why we can never get a picture of them. We can never get even that many sightings. Usually it's when somebody goes deep in when they get the sighting. But yeah, they're avoiding us, which I feel is what makes them more intelligent, because I don't blame them.
Exactly. Well, that's what I say about the UFOs. Everybody goes, oh, they're invading. No, I said they drive by, look down, say, yep, still stupid, and they keep going. Because it's what we are.
Driving by the field of cows, and you stick,
yeah, they're still dumb. Keep going. I always joke around. I said the Vulcans are never going to show up because we have not reached that level of intelligence yet. I know if anybody's a Star Trek fan, you guys will understand what I'm talking about. Dragon says, I'm not
a big fans of I Love Lucy, so we should just play that over and over. So,
Dragon Ranger says, I'm not a believer in the cloaking when it comes to Bigfoot. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of miles of forest. out there that are yet to be mapped. You're right. None of all of that's not mapped. So yeah, I do agree with you. There's such a vast wilderness that we haven't even touched on. So it's easy for them to hide.
Could be. Could be. Yeah.
And Friday goes, if the modern primate had cloaking capabilities, they aren't apes, they are Wookiees. There you go.
For real. I agree with that.
Yep.
The Wookiee was
There
the
you go.
first. The Wookiee was the first Sasquatch.
They hit the big screen anyway. Fame and fortune. Oh my goodness. All right, Michael has another question. Have you watched Dee's Dark Adventures? She does Bigfoot and dogman hunting, but she uses cat balls to play with.
Dee's Dark Adventures.
Never.
Never heard of that.
No.
I never heard of that.
There's so many people that I'm subscribed to, and I try to keep up with all of it. You guys, you just can't. There's no way possible.
So many. From the first time I got on here to now, there's just hundreds of Sasquatch channels.
And honestly, there used to be a ton more like UFO channels and stuff like that, because it all happened during COVID when everybody was locked in and couldn't go do anything because everything was closed. So I'm going to go on YouTube and talk about what I want to talk about. So all these channels popped up, and a lot of them have drifted away, but there's still a few out there that have hung out.
Has survived. Yeah,
still
I don't believe
going.
Sorry, Friday. I just don't believe in Dogman. I don't see an evolutionary link to having a dogman. There's no way a dog and a man can procreate and create. So, and I'm very much an evolutionist, I guess you say. So yeah, I can't see that happening. Now I am, however, I do believe in misidentification, that there could have been a Bigfoot that had some malformities that made them believe that it could be a dogman. So
yeah,
so
that would be one explanation.
You just need a little snout and lift up legs, and you got a dogman.
And,
well,
and to be fair,
if they're interbreeding, then there would be deformities.
Yeah, and we bring that up last night in the show. Matter of fact, that was my take on an article that I just had here about DNA. That there was a Neanderthal that was found to have been inbreeding within their group. And even though there were other Neanderthal groups around it, it still chose to inbreed in their specific group. And it was kind of interesting. And that's what drew me to that article, was the thought that, well, if Bigfoot's population decreases, are the inbreeding cases going to go up? And is that going to affect them genetically? You know, so right. All kinds of questions, all kinds of speculation.
Always more questions than answers, always.
Right.
I just, and so you guys you're dealing with the same things that we're dealing with, and the paranormal and the UFO. It's all the same questions and very few answers. And some people would think we're all nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Because we just keep doing it.
We're in our little communities here, even though there are 100,000, 200,000 in the communities, but outside this community, the rest of the world thinks we're all Looney Tunes. So,
I don't know. To be fair, I've always, if ever I'm with a group of, normies out there, you don't start off with a Bigfoot thing. You don't start off with a UFO thing. But if you ask about, hey, have you ever seen a ghost or anything like that? Everybody has a ghost story of some kind. So that's how you shoe it in. Then you start with that.
Right. But then I do have some people that look at me and they'll say, what are you doing now? And I go, well, I'm doing the YouTube channel. I says, dealing with the paranormal. I'm still doing some investigations. Started up the magazine about, everybody's experiences. And they look at me like, what? Hey, you want to join it. And you're right. Everybody does have a paranormal story. So, why not share it? What the heck? And there's a lot of people out there have their Bigfoot stories or UFO stories, and share them. Why not? It's better than hearing, the other crap that other people talk about, like the gunfire that happened like down the street or,
And you can find them out there, and you can just casual conversation. You can kind of weasel it. I went to Contact in the Desert, which is a big UFO thing out in California earlier this year, and was just chatting with some people. And one guy was from Western Colorado, and he was talking about a few things. And it's like, Western Colorado, huh? Ever see any Bigfoot out there? And he's like, and he got super serious. He's like, okay, I haven't actually seen it, but I've heard something really big in the woods. And it was something really big, because I spend a lot of time in this one particular area that he likes to go four-wheeling in. And there's like 3 different instances. There was something really big, and it was actually following me, whatever it was. So I don't know if it was a Bigfoot, because at least he was being fair about it. He was like, oh yeah, it was a Bigfoot. It was all over. So there are folks that have that as well. It's really is dependent on where you live as far as Bigfoot stuff goes.
It's not as taboo as it used to be. People.
That's true.
People are coming around more often. I feel more free to talk about it. My whole family knows now about my channel. And, in the beginning, I would keep it a secret that I was doing this type of stuff. But now everybody knows, and everybody's really supportive. So it's all good now.
Right. Well, that's great, because everybody is starting to realize, okay, maybe there is something to it. Like I said, I had a lot of people tell me, oh, don't bother doing no Bigfoot show. Nobody wants to hear that shit. I go, no, there is a lot of people that want to hear it. For myself, I was wondering, how do you do a Bigfoot investigation? I would not even know how to begin. Is it like hunting deer or bear or,
It's pretty much putting yourself into situations that you normally would not do. That's all you can do, is put yourself out there to possibly have an encounter. That's all it is. And to be ready to film it. Those are the 2 main things.
All those cameras out.
Yeah. You're not going to do it in a park, and you're not going to do it down your street. You're going to do it out there in the dark.
Right.
And that's all you try to do.
Deep in the woods, guys. So if you're afraid of the woods, stay at home, watch it on TV.
Yeah. You can watch some of my latest.
Watch it on here.
Lots of bug spray. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they love me. So, yeah, when I always say, everybody, when I go out in the woods, I have to, I got a DDT on from head to toe, because they ring the dinner bell when I come out.
Oh, yeah. I'll put on like one of those beekeeper outfits.
That's what I need. Oh, yeah. They don't touch my husband. So I was telling myself, well, it's because you're an asshole. They only like to buy things that taste good. And he gives me a bunch of grief, but it's me, and I just let off whatever they like, and boy, they're on me quicker than anything. Yeah. It's crazy.
When I went up to British Columbia in July, I had the strongest DEET you could buy, and I gave some to one of my friends, and he put it on. And a little while later, he goes, Nikki, what the hell did you give me? My lips are numb. I go, why did you put it in your face? I go, that was 98% DEET.
Oh, jeez.
Like, oh, my God. You're not supposed to put that on your skin. And I go, well, no, you're not. And you did. I go, I gave you the bottle. It says right there on the bottle.
Right. So how long did it take before I could feel his lips again?
Yeah, it was bad.
Oh, and yeah, that is bad. Actually, they say, you should wear, if you've got issues like we do, when you attract them, wear a mask over your face.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that walking through the woods?
Yeah.
I don't know. Jeez. Oh, God. Well, thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks, Nikki and Enzo. You guys have both been great. Nikki, you have been a vault of information. I look forward to hanging out with you again. Just to talk about anything and everything. Enzo, I'm looking forward to next week. It's always a pleasure to watch you. Actually, when you're with Karen, I have a ball.
Oh, yeah, she's great. I do have something I'd like to
You go ahead.
I know.
The floor is yours, sir.
I would like to plug one thing. I put a share down there if you wouldn't mind pulling that up.
There it is.
If you happen to live in the Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri area, which is very specific, I know. Saturday, September 28th, we'll be having the 2024 Border Town Paracon. That's the 6th year running, I think, where we have over 40 different guest speakers from all of those surrounding states, all meeting in one area. 3 different panels. We're going to have a ghost panel. We're going to have a UFO panel. We're going to have a cryptid panel. Some specific presentations there. Tons of vendors, tons of giveaways, raffles for all kinds of different things. And the best part about all of it, it is absolutely free. So you just got to swing by, spend the day with us. I'll be running the UFO panel where we're going to be talking about the history and current day versions of government UFO investigation. So we're going to talk about the politics. At least we're going to brush over the historical parts and then talk about get in deep with what's going on today and what they're actually doing. So, and then, like as I said, we have other panels, and all of the different speakers will be milling around all there. If there's someone that you know, or someone you've heard of, or someone you want to, ask a specific question, you can just walk up and talk to them like a regular person, because we're all just going to be milling around with the crowd. So. But I'll plug this again next week, of course. So it's only a couple weeks away. Just one day only, absolutely free. Please stop by.
Oh, nice. Yes. If you guys can, that'd be a great opportunity. I thought for sure you were going to say you were running the kissing booth.
No. We do not have a kissing booth. We actually do have one of those inflatable UFOs where it's got like the clear plastic, like you're getting beamed up, where you can sit inside and get your picture taken.
That's cool. That's cool. So that is great. So everybody, remember to check out in the description. I got Nikki's links to both of her channels. You're always going to find Enzo on Karen's Doof Doof Paranormal's page. She does a weekly thing with him. But he's also going to be here again on the 23rd. So we're going to be talking a little UFO stuff that time around.
Hour permitting.
So, yes. Well, you got to get that guy out there, have him paddle faster.
That's it.
Keep that generator going.
Make sure I pay my bills properly on time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Hey,
I want to thank everybody. Thank everybody for joining us. We got to let Nikki go so she can go eat. We don't want her passing out on the show. So.
All my food. And I'm like, did you turn it off? Am I going to have burned beans when I get out of here?
Oh, no. See? Yeah, we don't want her eating burned beans. So thanks, everybody, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have everybody come hang out on the Raw side. Until next time, everybody, have a great night.